Hi, my name is Joseph Alai. Welcome to my channel. And today I want to give you a very important video upon what to imagine and how often you are supposed to imagine when you're waiting for your desire to unfold or manifest in this world. On this channel, I talk about techniques that work, manifestation techniques that work in a systematic way. I have been systematically testing manifestation techniques with segmented tests, experiments, observations for over a decade. With segmented tests and the data that I have derived not only from my own thousands of manifestations, but also from those tens of thousands from my coaching clients and my subscribers. This is where I derive the information that I give to you today. So utilizing this is a way that is predictable and precise. The way and means that you will, by listening to the rest of this video, by which you'll be able to manifest and to know how to manifest, it's going to get you to a place of confidence. So please, before we begin, hit the like button. It does something to the YouTube algorithm so that those who wouldn't normally be able to see this will be able to see this. Hit the subscribe button if you like broken down methodical techniques and predictable methods on how to get whatever you want through a data-driven, tested manner. And then hit the bell icon. Every Tuesday and Friday, I release long form content. And then on Mondays, the rest of the weekdays, I release shorts. And then also I have an email list where I release content as well. I have a workbook usually associated with each video, and this video should be in the description. It'll be specifically related to how to imagine and what to imagine, how often. So let's jump into this, please. The idea or concept of why is my manifestation not here yet? Or what do I need to do in order to get this manifestation to unfold? What is the best course of action? How long do I need to wait? How often should I imagine? Should I stop imagining? Am I supposed to imagine consistently? All of these questions should be answered for you with a basis of theory and fundamentals after or through the course of this video. The reality itself is an outpicturing of the mind. Your personal experience is the culmination and combination of all of your imaginal acts, all your thoughts, all your beliefs, all of your perceptions, your judgments, your conclusions, the emotional reactions that you've had. These are stored within the subconscious mind. And whether it was done in a deliberate fashion or accidental, or without even knowing that you've done it at all, you will be constantly creating your reality day in and day out. And this is an important aspect to understand because there is no one that is creating or impacting your reality like you are. So when it comes down to figuring out what needs to be done in order to manifest what we want, how often we need to imagine, and do we imagine intermittently? Do we live in the end? All we really have to do is observe our reality with a little bit of information, and we can reverse engineer everything that we've seen, and we can come up with that answer ourselves. But I will guide you through this process and give you some explanations upon which our reality is founded, or theories by which you can prove through testing, systematically testing with manifestation, and you will be able to know without any doubt what you need to do. So given the fact that this reality is created by us, the first step in creating a reality that you want is to deliberately execute the process that we've already been engaging in from the moment we have become conscious in this body. In other words, we've always been creating, so we need to emulate that process. And the way that that is done is by imagining, or in some way impressing the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is the tool that I reference almost probably more than anything else in this channel, aside from possibly awareness. And the subconscious mind becomes the intermediary between the mind, the human mind, the active mind, the engaged mind, the conscious mind, and this reality. So within the subconscious mind Within the subconscious mind holds all of our memories, all of our experiences, all our judgments, all our fears, all of our doubts, all of our desires, essentially everything. It's a huge memory bank, but it also has direct access to the creative power of the universe, which is called God. Or if you look in Exodus, that phrase God means awareness, or I am. So your consciousness awareness of being is the God that shapes this world, that has created everything in your life. And this makes sense because of the meticulous way in which our reality is shaped. When you begin to systematically manifest on a regular basis in a predictable way, you can actually trace every single thought exactly with every detail of feeling and mood and visual and sound to the reality that you're experiencing. And this is excellent because there's no randomness. There's no wiggle room. There's specific formulas that you need to engage in that work every single time, that you can actually systematically test yourself, like I have, that you can access always and create anything that you want. So when we look at how this works and the way that it's always worked for us, if you're buying into the theory that we've created a reality, then you must look back and think about what have you created in the past. And so when we look back at some of the theories of that people explain how to manifest, which is essentially always imagine 24/7, or always believe it's going to happen, or persistently remain in a state of expectancy. This is not the case. This is not necessary. Although some teachings of some excellent manifestation coaches have talked about this, really a lot of it is absolutely misunderstood and essentially traded in for the human need to do a lot of work. So in other words, the majority of our reality has been created by single thoughts, or single impressions upon the subconscious mind is a more accurate way. A thought itself, a fleeting thought, is less effective, almost ineffective in comparison to a carefully planned and laid impression of the subconscious mind. So in other words, what you find is the only requirement to manifesting is a single manifesting a subconscious impression. This is done through imagining. So we might have the idea, the desire that we want to manifest a specific person. And to do so, we know, if you've been watching my channel, or if you watched or if you have any experience with manifesting whatsoever, then you have probably heard that you need to stick with the end. You've probably heard or experienced yourself the detrimental aspects of, or features of, manifesting intermediary things of the middle. So I won't cover that right now, but what we have to do is depict the desire that we want from a state of consciousness, a state of mind, right? A state of consciousness, there's that word again, consciousness, a state of consciousness where we already are experiencing it. It's already done. And in other words, you already are having the wedding ring on and you're already celebrating an anniversary. Keep in mind now, I've already surpassed the wedding. I've surpassed the engagement. None of these imply the ultimate success or desire to be married. And also, manifestations do not necessarily meld together. They are independent from one another, and they do not have any reference to seeds that came before. For that sake, we must imagine after the end. And this is why you've heard it harped on. This is easily testable by imagining middle things, which I wouldn't recommend. But nevertheless, when we do this, if we can get this done in a meticulous way where we impress the subconscious mind with the end result that we desire, technically that's the only requirement. So the fundamental formula of manifesting is bring a scene into the mind's eye, hold it there until it impresses the subconscious mind, and then let go. Once it impresses the subconscious mind, that is akin to dropping a seed into the ground. Now, the seed itself that we cannot see with our own eyes, the seed itself, the DNA consists of the ways and means. So we have this desire, we want to manifest marriage, and so we imagine a scene where we're celebrating our anniversary with our specific person at a restaurant. And we do this and we imagine it from first person perspective. Now keep in mind, as I said before, the consciousness replicates. That is the creative power, that is God. It literally is creative by its material, by its essence. That is why when you hold an image in front of your consciousness, it manifests. It copies outward. This is why you will witness the exact replication of the imaginal act and not something similar. So to the degree that you can get an accurate impression, will you also manifest that to the exact degree in the point of view, in the tense, like a mirror from the perspective. This is why it's important to imagine in first person perspective, and it's important to imagine after the end. You want to replicate the exact tense, exact perception, and what have you. So once you've done that and then it's dropped into the ground, the ways and means, which are derived from the infinite intelligence of God, right? This is written all throughout Scripture and can be easily tested by leaving out core intermediary steps. You imagine the end and you watch the way that it happens. So it will happen always perfectly. You'll always realize the way it happens is way more genius than you could have ever devised. And that's the case with me every single time. The ways and means we know not of. If you've watched my previous video, I think I released it last or shortly before, and I talk about ends, ways, and means. You imagine the end and the ways and means are filled in automatically within the seed. The DNA the DNA consists of all the bridge of incidents that are required to fulfill the manifestation. So now that comes to the question, what and how often do I need to imagine? So in this case, we've already gone over the first part, which is what to imagine, but I'm going to give you a few more specific clarifying details. Construct a scene that's short. The subconscious mind can only accept seeds that you can pay attention to. So the length of time should be within an attention span worth of an imaginal scene. And in other words, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 3 seconds, 15 seconds, a short scene. And not only that, remember, there's a replicating factor within consciousness. So whatever we present to it within that short span of time should have no doubt of what you are wishing to experience. So in this case, with an imaginal scene, celebrating an anniversary at a restaurant with wedding rings on is a brilliant scene because it encapsulates everything together. The only thing that I would add to this is some sort of decree which states the gratitude or happiness that it's just absolutely amazing that they've been together. Like, I'm so grateful I've been together with you in marriage for 2 years, for 5 years, for 10 years. What an amazing marriage. And have the person, your partner, respond back with similar verbiage. Herein, in just a couple of seconds, you have completely encapsulated your desire, and there's no doubt that the replication of it would have full context. It would know exactly what was going to be manifested. Now, it's important to note here, your intention itself doesn't matter. It doesn't get picked up within the subconscious. There is a very meticulous process to impressing properly, and intention just doesn't fit within that in that process. The key to impressing is to relax yourself in a way where you are no longer under any type of stress. You're in a neutral state. You're not worrying about what's going to happen later. You're not thinking about what just happened yesterday. You're not working on your plans. Your mind isn't wandering. You're not in an absolute state of focus or active-minded. You are in a relaxed, neutral state, and you bring forth the scene that you've already planned prior. Very important step, by the way, planned prior. You bring that prior planned scene into the imagination. Now, whichever methods you decide to use to impress the subconscious, you can do so. But in this case, I'm going to go through visualization. This is the most common and the easiest to strengthen. And for those who have the claim that they are unable to visualize, I have a quick debunking experiment for you if you want to be debunked. If you don't want to visualize, that's a different story. But for those of you who are absolutely really desperately attempting to know that you can use that function of your visualizing factor, I'm going to give you a quick experiment within a second that explains to you that you can. So a couple things. First of all, you don't see anything when you close your eyes. When you close your eyes, see the back of your eyelids, everyone in the world, when they close, unless you're blind, when you close your eyes, you see the back of your eyelids. You don't see anything. The organs of the eyes remain witnessing the back of your eyelids or whatever, pitch black. So that is not what imagining or visualizing is supposed to do. It's not supposed to give you a supernatural ability to see with your eyes closed. Seeing should not technically be the word used when talking about visualizing or imagining. In other words, You do not need to see anything. You should not be seeing anything. Secondly, here's the experiment. Besides that, if I asked you right now to reflect upon what you ate for breakfast, or what you ate, your last meal that you ate, or the last person who called you on the phone, or what the color blue looks like, or what the color purple looks like, then, and if you can come up with an answer, you have just imagined, literally. This isn't a trick. I'm not here to tease anyone or poke holes in anything, but too common now, I've seen people making excuses for why they can't visualize. And I think a lot of it has to do with the popularization of modern diagnoses. This has been something that's expanded recently, even since I've been on YouTube. In the beginning, this was never a thing, and then it suddenly became a thing. Trends cause people to impose limitations on themselves. And if you have trouble with this, all you need to do is just manifest that you can visualize, right? It's so easy. Everyone inherently has the ability to do so. It might take practice. It doesn't come natural to be able to imagine in first person perspective, but if you imagine or write down or hear that you can visualize excellently, you will literally manifest yourself doing so with no further effort. So visualization is another aspect that trains the imagination to grow stronger. In other words, through my years of coaching clients and giving them experiments to perform to relay back the information to me, those who have engaged in visualization and the exercises therein have had a greater chance of success, meaning their abilities to manifest far outweighed the individuals who only used secondary aspects such as only audio or only listening to something. In other words, through testing and looking at the data, what you'll find is that those who actively engage with the imagination, that means hearing something or seeing something or feeling something, are far more likely to experience successful manifestations on a consistent and regular basis than those who passively listen to or witness something without actively engaging. That means if you're listening to something, you should also follow along with your inner voice so that you can hear yourself following along. In other words, also then, there is a scale of effectiveness of impact of imaginal act. Imaginal act, again, doesn't necessarily mean visualization, but for those who visualize, the effectiveness of the imagination grows stronger. Now, there's a reason for this. In Scripture, the imagination is called the Christ, and that is the power and wisdom of God. Those are equivalent words. So in other words, it says Christ is the power and wisdom of God. It also says in Scripture that Christ is the human consciousness. And so when you utilize and focus your imaginal attention and strengthen it, which is done best through using your faculty of vision within the mind, remember, not behind your eyes, then you will strengthen your ability to control the attention of the imagination, which equally strengthens the Christ within you, which therefore will then cause more manifestations, cause more mystical experiences. Again, these are studies that have been performed objectively over years, just something that I've witnessed, because I realized in the beginning with myself, something that I had really focused on intently later on was visualizing. In the beginning, I would use things such as affirmations only or scripting. Later, having learned a bit more about Neville and his guidance, I had began to perform exercises that I engaged in, like exercises that helped me to control the imagination or bilocation. I began to experience amazing or phenomenal results, like tremendously different, varied results massively that were absolutely detectable. The results after I began to visualize were far superior than those to when I did before. And so this is something in my own experience that I've tested. Now, I'm not saying that it's not effective to not visualize. That is not what I'm saying at all. But I am saying there is a noticeable difference objectively from individuals who perform and practice this and who don't. And in other words, also, you can strengthen your ability to imagine. If you have no control over your attention span in the beginning, which was like myself, very much like myself, it was a practice, but the practice worked. It can be trained, it can be exercised, and you can manifest your ability increase with this, just like your ability to impress the subconscious mind. So I digress. The key here is to suspend yourself and bring forth an imaginal act within the conscious mind, whether you use visualization or whatever it is that you're using from the point of view intent of you already having your desire. And after you do that, if you could do that, you can let go and never imagine again. Now remember, the seed in theory of what it says in scripture and the formula through creation is that dropping the seed into fertile ground, just the same way as in reality, you can walk away and then it will manifest in and of itself. So the final breakdown is as follows. If you can assure yourself that you have successfully impressed your subconscious mind, that is all that is needed to be done before you can stop imagining. So how do you do that? The way to do that is to imagine something until you feel a thrill or satisfaction or some level of confidence that you've done it properly. In other words, more concrete example would be you have planned something out before, so you're not bringing yourself out of that suspended state to try to conjure a scene because that'll defeat the whole purpose. You plan something out before the imaginal act. You go into the suspended state. Close your eyes, relax, count backwards. Do something to fully anchor you in the moment so you're no longer thinking about anything else. Then you bring forth the scene into the mind's eye. And when you do this, it's not going to be instantly easy. It's not going to be simple. Your mind is going to wander. But the point is it might take a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes or so. But your job at that moment is to simply populate the scene whilst you're calibrating at the same time, which means you can look at your hands to make sure you stay in first person perspective. And whilst you're doing that, you bring forth the imaginal scene. Place yourself in the scenario. Think from the scenario as opposed to thinking of the scenario and witnessing yourself in the scenario. You're actually experiencing the scenario. And your mind is going to wander. Your mind is going to run off. Your mind is going to think about opposite things. That doesn't matter. At that point, you're not impressionable. This is one of the massive confusing aspects that people have about visualization or imagining, is they are afraid that if they think about something that is not what they want, they're going to manifest it. But they are not yet in a state that is conducive to impressing the subconscious. Remember, that's what we're attempting to do. And you are not there until you are fully capable to a degree that is reasonable to believe that you are in a suspended state and that you have played the scene out without any sort of jolting or fear that you're going to do it the wrong way. Meaning, get that all out of your system. That's going to happen in the beginning for the first 5, 10, 15 minutes, depending upon how experienced you are. It gets much less, much shorter, real fast. It gets real easy as the days and weeks pass. The point is imagine then. So once you're calibrated there, once your mind isn't wandering anymore, and once you've brought forth the scene into your imagination and you begin to play the scene out, remember, short and concise, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, whatever the case is, and you imagine that. At first, you're going to be drawing upon your memory still because you've written this down, although it's much easier than creating it on the spot. You keep repeating that scene over and over and over, and the more you repeat it, the more natural it becomes, the less effort it becomes, the less struggle it becomes, and it becomes a very yielded experience, almost like you're really there. Once you are fully in the state of repeating this scene over and over and over, what happens is, as a result of constructing an accurate scene and experiencing it, you will receive some sort of thrillful or true emotional reaction, just as you would in reality. You don't have to force or inject the emotion into the scene. In other words, that's actually a way to not necessarily ensure that you're going to get it. The best way to ensure you're imagining the proper scene is to not inject emotion artificially. You play the scene out naturally and repetitively, and as a result of that experience that you're having in imagination, the emotions should happen as a side effect. And once that is done, that means your subconscious has been impressed, and at that point you can walk away and it will happen on its own. Now, in other words, that's all you need to do. If you can do that on the first day of imagining, that's it. It will literally come. It has to come every single time it comes. I've never seen it fail. If it takes you 1 day, 2 days, 5 days, a week, 2 weeks to do it, if you're in the beginning stages of still practicing imagining, it could take you much longer to get that initial scene down. Short and concise works the best. Remember that. but practice, and eventually you will get there. Now, in some cases, some people do not get that emotional satisfaction, which likely means to me that your scene is not realistic enough, or it's not doing something to you as it would in reality. So I would refine the scene or slightly vary it after a period of time where you're not necessarily feeling or experiencing any type of satisfaction from it. Now, anything after the end is acceptable. You can imagine as many variations as you want, but the point is ensure it's after the end. Now, what do you do after you've successfully impressed the subconscious mind? Technically, you will be moved automatically. No matter what you think you're going to do, you will be caused to experience that manifestation. It must come to you. But what you can do in the interim is work on your world concept, which is what I call it now because it's too confusing, these words, that terminology that people are bastardizing. The concept that you have of the world. And you do this by observing what your concept of the world is through, say, examining the experiences that you've had. Constructing general statements which would imply the world is acting different. People act different. I always get what I want. People always give me what I want. I am always successful in all my endeavors. All of my partners are straightforward and consistent with me. Whatever things you feel would help facilitate the manifestation in a general way. Important. General. You're not manipulating the middle here. You're reconstructing the laws by which your reality is working. This is essentially what I do on a regular basis. I imagine a desired scene, and once I've done this to the best of my ability, I will let go. Once I've let go, I will work on the generalities of my universe, the laws by which my reality functions. This helps facilitate a smoother middle between now and the end, as long as it's kept general and has nothing to do naming specifically the end you want. And it's more talking about the functions of the world and the way it works. That's a very critical distinction. Like people, so for instance, if I wanted a specific person, but I've had past experiences where I'm chosen second or I'm not prioritized by this person specifically, what I would do is I would construct statements such as a decree statements, which would be something like, people always prioritize me, or the people I date always prioritize me. Notice how I've generalized it. This is what to do in the middle. And this is generally for those people in the beginning of my career of manifesting, when I was witnessing a lot of people coming to me with their specific person problem. They've been systematically, specifically visualizing the end over and over. This was the key that they were missing for those that it didn't come immediately, was the generalizations of the world. Doing this will unblock anything that's blocked. It will prevent errors from happening. It will cause your world to work in a consistent manner to help you get what you want. And that is what you want. So in other words, after you imagine successfully to impress your subconscious mind with your ultimate end, you don't need to do anything technically. So realistically, what will happen normally, say you imagine it and you impress the subconscious, what happens next is it will automatically begin to unfold, which means something usually appears in the world to let you know that your subconscious has been impressed. And the way that happens is just like anything else when you impress your subconscious, you will receive an echo in the world. Your subconscious is always being outpictured. So you can know what you've impressed by looking at the world. And if you've witnessed something in the world that is similar to what you've imagined, it's a done deal. There's nothing you have to do, and you'll be moved automatically. The bridge of incidents, will unfold and will lead you to a place where you will get it. The world will be moved. People will be moved, and you will have to do nothing technically. You will not have to conjure any means or plans. It will all be taken care of. Imagine and let go, essentially. Now, if, say, you do not see any movement, that is when, I do this anyways, I work on those general concepts of reality, but generally speaking, when an individual is stuck, that is the missing piece. Look back on your experiences. I have many videos on this. Everyone is yourself pushed out, assumptions, etc. You define the reality that you wish were true in a broad and general context, and the world will happen in that way. So anyway, I hope this was helpful for you to give you the idea of what to imagine and how often to imagine. If it was, please subscribe, hit the bell icon, and hit the like button, and I will see you soon. Thank you so much.